welcome back to the channel. So this time we have the epic battle that was Quatre Bras. This is a captivating battle report that will transport you back to June 16th, 1815, when history was made. On a dusty field in Belgium, two armies clashed in a struggle for control. The French Empire, led by Marshal Ney, faced off against the British-Dutch army under the command of the Duke of Wellington. However, in our game, it's the Prince of Orange. So get ready, and let's see how the battle goes. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and leave some comments down below. So in our game, as was historical, the French are starting off with far superior numbers versus a small Dutch-Belgian force trying to hold them up until reinforcements can come. So for our game we've got a Brunswick battalion, two Nassau battalions and two artillery pieces versus almost the entire French army. French artillery firing on British artillery. 2 and 3. So that's 2 and a 1, so that's 3. And British artillery firing on French infantry. D5 minus 1. So that's 2. And British artillery firing on French artillery. 2. So turn 1 saw the British firing a few shots and doing a little bit of damage, but nothing too major, whilst the French forces just pushed forwards. So in turn 2, the Allies didn't do too much. They swung one battalion out to the right hand side just to oppose the river, whilst the French sent cavalry and light infantry to try and dislodge them, whilst the rest of their force pushed up the centre. 2 French guns firing at the bridge gun. It's going to be D5 minus 1, so that's 3, and 2, so 5 points. French infantry firing onto the gun, and that's infantry versus artillery. And that's D5. Yep,
very good.
Voltigeurs firing on the Syrians. There's no cover or anything there, so it's just going to be straight up. 2 D5s. So 2 and 3. So 5 points. The Syrians firing back at Voltigeurs. Doing 4. Brunswick infantry against that line regiment first. So that'll be D5. So that's 4. Then we'll do Nassurians against them. Doing 3, so 4, 5, 6, 7. So grape shots onto the infantry. D5 plus 3. So that's 6. Oh, sorry, and then we've got second artillery piece firing onto the same regiment. And that's just going to be a D5 minus 1. Just 1 point damage. So at the end of turn 2, the French main thrust is coming down the centre. However, they are taking quite a heavy pounding from the artillery. The Brunswickers are occupying the villa. 1 regiment of Nassurians are in the corn, and the others have just pulled back into the forest line, defending the stream. It's still a tough game for both of us. And I'll just really apologise for calling the Nassau troops Nassurians. It's something I've done since I was very young, and it's a hard habit to break, but please forgive that. So turn 3's movement from the Allies, they didn't really do much. Nassau unit did swing round, but that was it. The French carried on their advance up the centre, and on the French left, the infantry started to make their advance to try and get close for a bayonet attack. Voltigeurs times 2 onto Nassau. Short range, this is going to be D5. 2 and 4, 5, 6.
It's firing on your
artillery
on the bridge.
Sure, that's going to be a D5 straight, that's 3.
Artillery piece.
Artillery on artillery.
Yeah.
Cool, that's going to be D5 minus 1. Yep. That's 3. And the other one.
What are they on, those artillery pieces?
1. 1 after that artillery shot.
Okay, and the other artillery?
9.
9. Well, he'll be firing on him then.
And the other one, yep. Okay. 1. Alright, so line infantry firing onto the Brunswickers in the building. -3. So 1. So Brunswickers firing onto the front regiment. -1. There's 1. And the Syrians onto line infantry. Just 2. So 2 artillery pieces doing grape shots. 6. And 5. So turn 3 was quite painful for the French. They lost a battalion from combined small arms fire and artillery fire. However, they did get themselves into position so that in the next turn they'll be able to attack. So turn 5 was quite an interesting one. The French did come forwards en masse and did start to cross the bridge to attack the guns. They were cavalry charging my Nassau in the field, and their infantry charged across the stream to take out my 2nd Nassau unit. Also, they started to engage with the Brunswickers in the buildings, although the French did lose several units who broke due to excessive casualties. So for the Allies it was getting a bit desperate, but on turn 6 we got our first unit of reinforcements, which was 2 battalions of British Line Infantry coming down the Brussels road. French Line Infantry firing onto artillery. That's D5 -1. So 1 and 3, so that's 4 total. Okay, artillery on artillery. That's going to be halved and starting off with a D5 -1. So it's 2.
The other gun.
Add the other gun.
Yep.
Yep.
Good fire him.
Ah, same gun. Cool. So again, so we've got 1 artillery piece on cav and 1 on infantry. And that's going to be D5 +3, 6, and 5. Got Brunswickers firing against French line and French line against Brunswickers. So French first is D5 -3, so 1, and Brunswickers D2. So turn 6 had a lot of positives for the French. They cleared almost all of my forces from the southern side of the stream, apart from the Brunswick infantry who was still stubbornly holding on. They had managed to get the Hussars and Cuirassiers across. Both of my artillery pieces had routed, and yeah, it was a very tough situation, but my Brunswickers were holding firm. They'd broken 1 battalion, and they almost broke a 2nd, so they were definitely doing a good job. So turn 7, both sides kind of took a bit of a pause whilst they realigned their ranks. We'd both taken quite a pounding. However, the British did get reinforcements on again this turn in the form of 2 squadrons of Lancers, so I threw them forwards to kind of screen my forces, whilst hopefully managing to rally one of the guns. The other had been destroyed by their artillery. Turn 8 was a bit of a repeat of turn 7, in that we mainly just repositioned and reorganised and got our troops ready for what was to come in turn 9, which is going to be the big push. So on turn 7, the British reinforcements are starting to take up positions. British artillery is routed. Cuirassiers are forming up for an attack, whilst the French are trying to form a line. The French do have several units that are broken and they're trying to rally. Shooting at Lancers, is that short range?
That's going to be... That's 12.5.
Okay, 12.5, so it's going to be short range. So that's D5 -1, so there's 2.
And they'll be firing also.
Yeah, okay, just do the other one, 2, and that's going to be short range as well, D5 -1. So 2, so that's 4. So turn 9 came, and British reinforcements came. That was in the form of infantry coming down the northwestern road. And it was also time for the cavalry to charge, so I split my cavalry, and one of the squadrons went after his lancers, after his hussars, and the others went straight for his cuirassiers. I had to try and blunt them somehow and disrupt his front, although I knew it was a suicide mission, because as you can see, his cuirassiers' second squadron swung round and annihilated my lancers, although the first did get routed. His hussars were destroyed as well, so it was worth it, I think. So turn 10 sees French reinforcements, which at this point he does sorely need, because his troops have been depleted quite badly. But both sides, after my cavalry charge, were basically just trying to reorganise themselves. My troops were coming through the woods slow but steadily. He had managed to rally a couple of his, and they were coming back to the field, so it was a reorg turn. So turn 11, all of my cavalry was destroyed, and he was just repositioning. He still had his 2 artillery pieces, which were causing me no end of trouble. Both of my guns were now gone, so it was really my infantry versus his combined arms. And the artillery was starting to hurt me. But luckily the objective for him, he had to occupy unopposed the crossroads by turn 15, so I was still holding strong. So turn 12 saw him start to move his forces into attack positions. He formed up his infantry into columns and brought both his cavalry squadrons together. So he was going to charge and just try and overwhelm me. So it was going to be a bit of a bloody turn. Luckily for me, in turn 13, my troops who were coming through the woods finally broke through into open terrain, so they could start to get a bit of movement going, so they could try and swing round and catch the French on their flank. But the 2 artillery pieces at close range were just starting to grape shot my troops, and I was losing horrifically. His infantry then formed up into a line to try and whittle me down even further, and the casualties were immense. So turn 14 came, and it was really the last push for both sides. So my troops had started advancing along the French left flank and from the wall, and so I was trying to get as close to him as I could to pour in volleys, and in return he sent his cavalry forwards to charge my infantry in the road, and his reinforcements finally came up. In turn 15 it was not going to be possible for him to win anymore, so we literally both just volleyed off as much as we could and did as much damage just to end the game, but it was a British victory. It was quite an interesting game in that we were trying to play it each turn being an hour, and it turned out to be quite similar to what happened historically, so quite an interesting one, which we weren't expecting. We were thinking that possibly having knowledge of history would do things differently. But no, it was a lot of fun, very hard for both of us, me especially at the start with only a couple of units against his whole army. I think my key move was to deploy my artillery pieces on the other side of the stream and the bridge, and yeah, that just held him up and caused enough casualties that he wasn't able to just steamroll us straight through. But anyway, thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.